session by Mr. Augustus G.S. Azariah, Associate Director, Human Resources, IBM India Private Limited, on the topic Automation in HR, Innovations, Opportunities and Challenges. HR, Staffing, Leadership Development, Succession Planning, Employee Relations and Labor Relations. Prior to IBM, he has worked at British Aerospace HAL as Head of Global Resourcing. He is currently associated with IBM India Private Limited as Associate Director, Human Resources, and involved in employee policy, advocacy, grievance redressal, global restructuring, mergers and acquisitions, and divestments that cover all aspects of an employee's life cycle. He has been considered as a thought leader in Indian IT industry on public policy initiatives that enable the government towards creating a proactive labor ecosystem. On the personal front, he is actively involved in community development and supports in rehabilitating oppressed women and children and is committed to education and community health. He has a master's in business administration, postgraduate diploma in computer applications, and numerous certifications and recognitions in HR field. So we are proud to have you here, sir. Augustus G.S. Azariah.
That the elders bestowed upon me, and I feel truly blessed on this Sunday morning, and very delighted to be here with INFOST. And Bharat, thank you for inviting me, and I'm here to basically talk to you about the topic on automation in HR. I've taken a broader topic from there in terms of the future of work, so that it kind of encompasses a lot of things that could be in your mind and that you may want to know about. Okay, sorry. So given that the topic here was serve, uplift and empower, and it was also about social transformation. So as I was preparing for today's session, I thought we've gone through Thank you. I thought we've gone through tremendous social transformation, okay? And if you go back, okay, so if you look at this, this was how a family was, all right? A few decades ago, 2-3 decades ago, all right? We had a family photograph with children, grandchildren, father, mother, grandfather, great-grandfather, grandmother, uncles, aunts, grand-aunts, and it's a whole village, okay? And that's how our culture was. And a few years later, and that's the family picture that you see, right? That's the social transformation we've gone through, okay? And why have we gone through this social transformation? Like our chief guest has said, you know, human relations begins at home. And therefore, I thought I had some intuition to put those pictures up there to drive home the point. So what is the future of work, and are we in the future of work, okay? And what does it involve for us, okay? And I would like to make this as interactive as I can, so feel free to interrupt me and ask me questions, okay? So can I throw a question back at you? Can somebody here tell me what is the future of work? without manual interventions, okay? Automation. We already have that, sir. So that's the present. Yes, it can be ubiquitous, it could be anywhere, right? Flexible, yes, yeah. And then I got a word cloud to define what is future of work, and it's a lot of what you are saying out here, you know. It's about talent, it's about working on demand, it's about distributed workers, it's about collaboration, it's about innovation, and various other things this word cloud will tell you, okay? Sorry? Yeah, there is global competition, no doubt, yes. And also the global slowdown, right? So future of work is not always the same, and it won't be the same. There are people who have lost jobs, but we know that with skilling, those people will find new jobs, okay? And if you look at this picture, to my mind, it's a pretty boring picture, okay? And if you look at what we have done, right? For example, call centers. Today, call centers are there in we call the bank, and some call it center agent answers you. You ask for help desk support, you call your telecom company, there is somebody. But slowly that's changing, all right? So artificial intelligence is taking over some mundane tasks, okay, and doing that. So over a period of time, the low-level jobs there will be automated, and people will have to skill to move on to higher-level jobs, okay? So reskilling out there. So, and then, like you said, sir, that we can work from anywhere, all right? So that's the other thing about the future of work, is that you can work from anywhere and do whatever you want, no doubt. But how do you do this, okay, is you have web tools, okay? And there are various tools today that help us to be present in a place where you're probably physically not present, but at the same time be effective, okay? So what is the competition we will look at? So today it's more competitive if you look at it, but no more is competition restricted to our workplaces, okay? So the competition, like you said, sir, is global, right? And in the future, we see that today we say, okay, you're in Bangalore and therefore you're entitled to this and that benefit. But location is not going to be a constraint. So why I brought this up is because for us as HR practitioners and HR policymakers, we have to take a better look at how our HR policies are being framed, okay? How relevant are they today to today's growing environment, okay? And the other one is there are actually no guarantees, okay? One is we work from anywhere we want, but at the same time, the competition is extreme, all right? Now, when I say the competition is extreme, it's not just within ourselves, but it is global, okay? We are losing businesses to various countries, like China picks up our businesses. We have emerging markets, we have the Eastern Europe markets that is very competitive, and even in South Asia, we have a lot of competition. Now, I'm talking a lot about the services industry, but I'm sure a lot of you from the industrial and manufacturing backgrounds also feel the kind of competition we face from China and various other countries. But before that, after that, I will come back and tell you about the competition as well as about the talent that we have where we can overcome this competition, okay? Because if you look at the red color blurb out there, okay, we say that nobody is going to pay you just for a college degree because skills is the new currency, okay? So while we are all educated and all those things, if we don't skill and reskill ourselves to what is relevant and what is coming up, redundancy sets in, okay? So in a sense, you either reskill or perish. There was some HR forum actually had this topic which says reskill or perish, and various HR leaders came and spoke there and spoke about the importance of reskilling. Now, reskilling is not just within your domain. If you're in automobile domain or you're in mining or oil or gas, it's not just there. Because, the domains or the sectors today are also facing so many challenges that some sectors are flat and stable, some sectors are declining, some sectors are growing. So what should we do is to do training cross-sectoral, okay? So today, if you are, let's say, for example, IT, and then because of our demonetization and digitalization, there are opportunities in the banking and financial sector. So people who are feeling unskilled here or feeling redundant have an opportunity today to change their skills or domain expertise and transition to industries like logistics is doing well, healthcare is doing well, okay? So it's not just within our own businesses, but I would encourage people, at least the younger ones, the millennials, to be multifaceted so that they're able to transition across what I would call domains. So therefore, it's so very important that normal becomes extremely boring, okay? That we have to stand out. You know, visibility is so important. Now, when I speak about visibility, it's not just about standing here and speaking, but it's your social eminence. Because today, people look at what you're posting, where you're going, what food you're eating, you know, because you go and put it out there, right? You come here and then you'll go up and put it on Facebook, all right? Now remember, all these things also add to what is called social eminence, okay? So somebody, let's say an employer or maybe an alliance for somebody who's yet to be married, goes and sees those things to understand what kind of a person this is. Okay, that's the human mind trying to do it. We also have analytics, which I will go into to say how analytics can pull some of these things out there, okay? So what are we doing? The future of work is what I would say on demand. And why do I say that it is on demand, okay, is because today, number of people with a college degree is growing. You know, I know of so many people, like for example, I say this to my sons. You know, I have 2 boys, 13 and 8. They were here this morning. We are used to, you know, help at home, right? Somebody comes, there's a maid or somebody who comes and helps, does the cleaning and goes. Today, the maid who comes to our home, her daughter is working in an IT company. She had an education, she's working in an IT company. Fantastic. So I tell my kids, this is the last generation that we are going to have that help, okay? So that is one barometer that tells me that college degrees are growing, because those people who never had those college degrees and doing these jobs, the next generation are getting those college degrees. And a lot of people, okay, not belittling the profession that they are doing, but there are opportunities for them. Informal education systems are going to be extremely high, okay? And of course, learning on the job and coaching as HR people, I think we have to be effective coaches, all right? Because over a period of time in the future of work, people development, skilling and career is something which will be empowered with the employee and his manager, not HR. The employee will be in charge of his development. And I will tell you why he will be in charge of his development, because he is going to be measured on various things. Social eminence was one, and then something I'm going to be talking about is the talent equity stock exchange after a few charts here. So there are various interventions that you have. You know, recently in the services industry, we had the bell curve to measure performance, okay? All of you are familiar with that, I'm sure. And the bell curve has been here for decades, okay? Where we were force ranking employees into, you know, 1, 2 or 3 rating or whatever the case may be. And it was quite relevant at that point of time. But again, what did we do in the services industry was that it did not convey the very clear in what you would say value to the employee. So the employees did a poll, you know. So we went and asked, how do you want to be rated? Okay. So there was this huge global poll, what we call a JAM, where they came up and said that you know, we want to do away with this forced ranking, and we would like to be having a ranking system or a performance evaluation system which is constant, which is 360 degrees, okay? We don't want to wait till the end of the year and then you say, okay, you are a great performer or you're a not so good performer. So performance management bell curve went out the window. What is next? Could it be appointment letters? Somebody says yes. Thank you. And I also have my very learned colleague, Dr. Manjunath, here. I don't know what he is going to say from the Department of Labor, but sir, some of this is going to be disturbing, but again, these are concepts and these are thoughts which we believe will be the future. So yes, why appointment letters could be next would be because of the freedom that the worker would get to choose where he wants to work, whom he wants to work, and what type of work he wants to do, and how long he wants to work. Okay, so he writes his own letter of appointment. Okay, that's about freedom and that's about transparency. Now again, all sectors, all industries may not be able to absorb this. Some levels in the services sector can, manufacturing may for certain jobs. The other day I was at a very big manufacturing company and on the shop floor, and I stepped onto the shop floor after nearly 15 years, and I would tell you that the transformation the shop floor has taken through the last 15-20 years is phenomenal. One is, I could not find a drop of grease on the floor, okay, or tools on the floor. And I could not find enough and more people because a lot of it was automated and they were operating it from glass cubicles somewhere, okay. So production has gone up, people are more empowered, they're using more technology, and therefore I called some of them autonomous workers. We'll get to that, okay. Is there a guarantee for a career? I don't think so. We don't get service for life, okay? Contractors, basically where we were using contractors more for temporary type of jobs, with what we would call flexible labor, that number is going up. And when I saw the surveys by team leads and various other staffing companies, I saw the needle really going up. And people today are also seeing the benefits of going and working shorter stints, okay, and probably earning more money, at certain levels. Like I have even had CEOs who are contracted out to companies for a specific period of time. Of course, that's a very small, thin percentage of people. But again, the larger population is basically in the entry-level type of positions. But contract staff is growing, which is the largest entry-level flexible job opportunity that there is. Okay, why are our employers looking at choosing contractor relationships over hiring new employees? Is because earlier we had large contracts that used to run in 2 years. You have a 5-year contract, 10-year contract with a client. But today, because of competition and because of the technology, the duration of contracts have drastically come down. Okay, so companies today do not have the luxury that they had before to go and say, okay, I have a 10-year or a 5-year deal with some company, and therefore I can go and hire these people for life because by then I'll find other opportunities. But today that's not the case, all right? So a lot of companies and people are hiring, but this trend is very low in our country. But globally, if you see, contractor hiring is definitely growing, and in India it is, which you could probably see. I had to pick this up because, again, to quote my 2 boys, they haven't even seen something like this, and I don't know, the younger people out here wouldn't have seen this. We don't have this anymore in our offices. Okay, so today, a lot of other things that we have, I'll go and tell you a little bit more about the technology changes and what's the levels of obsolescence that we will get. So once these different flexible workers come into the workforce starts to resemble something like project teams. Different kind of projects. People come together and then they would work and then they would disband. This is a movie set, okay? So I love Bollywood. I love our movies, but again, I'm a great fan of Steven Spielberg or Mani Ratnam. So let's say if somebody like Mani Ratnam was given an opportunity to start a movie, what's he going to do? He's going to pick people up. He'll pick the best director, he'll pick the best actor, actress, supporting roles, music, photography, cinematography, and all of them, a huge bunch of very, very talented people are going to be put together, right? They all come together and put their talents together, all right? And then what do? Over 1 year or whatever they would have, they work together and then they can the film, and after that they get paid and then they move on. And that is happening today. This is not the future. A lot of jobs today, at least in the IT industry, there are people who work and collaborate from very far off places, okay, and come together due to various project management and expertises to put those talents together and then deliver. So at the end of it, these are called what you would call virtual teams, all right? Now, these virtual teams work across time and space, all right? And when I say, when I was telling you about career, here's what happens when a person is in charge of his or her career. In the future, today you are assessed by an interviewer. Okay, you go to an interview, you are assessed. Your manager assesses you. Okay, but there would come a time when you have to assess yourself by going and getting into what you would call an assessment center. Okay, so I would say, let's say this person is a fitter or a welder or a software engineer. He goes through certain assessments, and that assessment is going to tell him that, okay, you're valued at, let's say, 1 lakh rupees a month, okay, because you have these skills. And for that person to go and enhance, and then there's going to be a platform, just like you have a Facebook or some platform, where you can go and say, okay, I need a fitter, welder, photographer, or whatever it is, and you would go and see who's there that fits your bill. And you are out there promoting yourself, okay? You're like an IPL player now, okay? So you have a value to yourself, and employers are going to pick and choose, okay? And if somebody already has you and then they want to sell you, they will also trade. They'll say, yes, this guy is good, now let me trade him for 10 welders or something like that. So what you would do is talent trading, okay? And swapping of people across. You know, this happens a lot in football, in professional football. Okay. Now, what are the challenges of doing some of these things? These are people. These are not, inanimate objects. So therefore, one is, while it provides the freedom for somebody to do what they want to do, as against being fettered to a job, there are also questions about confidentiality, data privacy, and various other things. So public policy makers are working to bring in that level of transparency, but that level of protection also for the people and their privacy. You can't just like go and pick up people's stuff from maybe a Facebook or whatever and use it, because there are privacy guidelines. So regulatory changes are also coming into play. So today, if you see what has happened with the demonetization and the GPS and everything, which was nothing but disrupting various things, all right? And then comes the regulatory changes. So those things are happening, including what is happening in the other. There's a lot of privacy information we know, but I'm sure that we are working very, very hard with the government, of course, to ensure that the privacy information of individuals is protected, but at the same time, they can use it in very judicious manners, okay? So that's definitely a challenge. And what we are trying to do here is a whole new employment paradigm, okay? So over the last 1 decade, or even in the last 3 years at least, I've seen so much of changes that I call it the new employment paradigm, okay? Because we are today at the front of it as HR professionals or eminent lawyers and jurists who are able to make that change, because our industry, environment and climate and our economy and everything is going through change. And transparency is definitely something. When I talk about transparency, today you have a job and then somebody does a background verification on you and then you get the job, right? But that same level of transparency is going to be so high. All right, that you will know what is being spoken about you, all right? So that is a right you have. And of course, flatter organizations, so that there is greater growth and development. Competition, I said, is very high, and I said it is going to be on demand. I put this chart here basically to pause and reinforce some of these learnings to you, so that if you have any questions, I can take it now as we move into the next level, which will be automation and analytics and very such things. Okay, so if there are no questions, I'm sure the caffeine has helped. Yeah. Yes. Okay, good question. Now, there are, even when I look at what is happening in the Skill India, okay, and keep me honest here, people from the Government of Karnataka Skills Department, if you're here, is the ecosystem that the government is creating and things like that is to also create that informal setup of learning. All right. Now, take for example the Ola drivers. Okay. Take for example various other skills. All right. Maybe your plumbers or carpenters. The real estate industry is booming. Now, where are you going to? Where are you? A lot of you have faced this, right? Where you get a plumber or a carpenter who's just so unprofessional. Okay. So informal sector has to grow. One is to build ethics in them, professionalism in them, and various other things. Okay. So there are, even the other day I had this electrical issue at home, and the electrician said he would come, but he didn't show up. I was waiting at home, not going to office. A lot of those things have to be done informally, because this is not, you of course teach them in schools and colleges, but that professionalism needs to grow from the informal sector. That's what I meant by informal education. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. You mean the placement companies, recruitment consultants equip themselves? See, I see a lot of recruitment today happening on the social front. So it's a lot of social hiring out there. Yeah, of course, I think it's only a matter of time, so IT, of course, there's a lot of it. Services industry also, there's a lot. But yeah, that's why I did say earlier that manufacturing and industrial, automobile would catch up. But it's the same thing in healthcare. Healthcare is also doing pretty well, and they're doing a lot of social hiring. Yeah. 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 Yes. Yeah. And we've heard a lot about what has happened out there, right? And yeah, but that's just a blip. Okay. So while you have a point, I want to tell you, try to explain that using a metaphor. Okay. Today, what is happening, in travel? What is happening in transport? You take a Uber, you take a Ola. Okay. What is it? What is happening here is about aggregation of skills. So you bring all those things down to a particular platform, and you make it more affordable to the consumer. And today, I'll give you my example is, when you do this type of an aggregation, there is a lot of benefit that goes to the end customer. Okay. And to your particular question, as it is people, it's a practice. So it is for the regulatory systems to bring in whatever change in terms of what should be paid, what shouldn't be paid, what is the markup a particular vendor or anyone should have. So, but that is not going to prevent the move, of flexibility, because see, it's about people's inherent need for freedom. That's what it is. They don't want to be fettered, especially. They can, but they can. In fact, Mr. No. Anybody can. In fact, I don't see Dr. Manjunath here. Anybody can approach for grievance, and at the same time, I have to say that contract employment is not for perennial work, right? So the nature of contract employment is for seasonal work, all right? So therefore, the contractor employee or his employer needs to have the next job for him, and for him it is revenue. He has to go and look for other opportunities. You cannot go and blame the principal employer because he is hiring contractors. He has a right under law. You have a right to hire contractors, right? Yeah. Thank you. Okay, that was nice questions, very insightful. Thank you very much. Any more questions, or shall we? Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah, I'm coming to engagement. That is something. So thank you for calling that out. I have engagement out there too. Okay. So in the interest of time, let me go quickly into the technology. So if you look at this picture, you would see that this is what they call a magic mirror. Okay. I picked it up, and if you see where there is highest collaboration, there is more progress. Okay. So if you see the continent of Africa down there, except South Africa, there's no progress elsewhere. And this is based on data. I can give you the facts. So if you see that there are scientists collaborating from US to Australia to China to India to various other places where the GDP is growing, the people are getting more prosperous. But if you look at various other places where the internet is not penetrating, you would see that the progress is slow. And I'll tell you why, is because collaboration, the moment you stop collaborating with people within your group or outside in nations, we are not going to progress. And that is data that I can share with you. Moore was one of the persons who founded the internet, okay? And Moore said that every 18 months, okay, the speed and power of computing increases by double, okay? And therefore, as these increases happen, what we all hold in our hands is the smartphone, right? Now, the same smartphone, the same memory, and the same power that it has is what put the first man in space. And that wasn't in somebody's palm or in somebody's pocket. That was probably 10 rooms of processing power this size. Today, you have that power in your hand. So it has moved, and therefore that move and development has done what? It has brought down the cost of chips. Okay? So when it has brought down the cost of chips, it makes it more pervasive. You can use those tags anywhere and gather data. Okay? I can give you an example. Okay? Like in India, we have the highest mobile data consumption in India. Okay? And we are also the highest in terms of downloading everything. Free downloads. Free downloads are the highest in India. We just don't pay for it. Okay? So what does it tell us is that the movement towards mobile telephony and with data costs are the lowest in India, the lowest in the world, the data cost. And therefore, more and more people have access to it. So if you look at this mobile voice traffic in India, it's pretty high, and it's growing. Okay, And that's probably why you saw the geo and various other things that were coming. Okay, so with data consumption going up, what happens? Okay, so I'm going to stay on this chart. If you can't read it, it's just a little cartoon, but on the right I've got the left, I've got these blurbs. Okay, employee engagement. How can we use analytics, okay, for employee engagement? How do we use analytics for well-being or performance management? I will just tell you, first of all, in employee engagement. Now, using something called, okay, before that, let me say. So, if you go and look at people's WhatsApps or Facebook or Twitter or any of these social platforms they're working on, there are various types of information, there are moods, there are emotions, there are various things that people put out there, okay? And there is a way to go and gather some data around this, look at it incisively and tell you what is the mood pervading in my organization today. And we call that sentiment analytics. So you can today tell, as people come into your work, into this thing, you have, let's say, a mood camera out there as they are entering. You can decide using facial recognition, you know, what levels of mood they are in. Let's just say smiley, 3 smileys, you know, which tells them that, okay, happy, sad, and not so happy. Okay, you can arrive at that. Okay, so employee engagement. I'm coming to well-being, which is again connected to employee engagement. So when I look at well-being, let's say in any environment, you know, happy employees are going to be more productive. Okay, and what is happiness in the workforce? What does happiness have to do in the workforce? Okay, happiness has to do with somebody's emotional and physical well-being. Okay. So when you want to measure somebody's emotional and physical well-being, we can measure it doing different things. Number of steps each person is taking walking in the office. Okay, so you can have a tag for every one of them. Okay, and you can see how mobile your workforce is. I mean, literally, how many of them are really going upstairs and coming down? And you can encourage people to do more activity. Because a lot of our lifestyle diseases today, be it diabetes or blood pressure, hypertension, is because of a sedentary lifestyle. Okay? So if you are there in your workplace, today you just have an ergonomic chair for them, fine. But what is it that's going to make you understand that my employees' health and well-being is going up? Okay, so you can measure it. Just one example, but you can do it in various other ways. You could also look at, you know, using that for them and their families, and then you can also make certain predictions. You know, as a HR person, you can look at what was your, let's say, sick leaves the last year, last month. Compare it using some of these statistics and these analytics that you're doing to say that these interventions has actually resulted in better well-being of my employees. Okay, so you can continue it. So one is employees are in better health, 2 is your productivity is going up, okay, and 3, you can also negotiate effectively with your insurance service provider, you know, using your how many sick leaves you're taking, saying that, look, the health of my workforce is pretty good, so you can negotiate better. Okay, so I hope there are no insurance person here. Okay, don't tell them this. All right. Performance management. In performance management, you with frequent discussions with the employees. Don't make it like once in a year, like we do with a bell curve, but do it as frequently as you want and measure it. Okay, so then you will know who are the employees who are actually becoming top performers or who are trending towards low. You don't need to wait till the end of the year and have that very difficult discussion with the employee and say you're trending towards lower performance. No, very well within the cycle you can say, hey, actually, you're trending low. Why don't you take this training? Why don't you skill yourself here? Why don't you do this certification? We are getting this project that is coming, So you are forewarned, and your deployment of people could be more effective when you do that. Okay. And there are various tools. I'm not bringing any tools over here because they're all proprietary and things like that, and I don't want to influence you to use any particular brand, but I'm just telling you that these are things that you can do. You can go and Google, or you can talk to me later to understand what are those tools, Kinexa is one technology and various other such tools. Okay, so if some of you have read the cartoon, basically it just tells you that, you know, when you go into a supermarket and buy things, you know, and then the computer, after doing a lot of analytics, it kind of tells you, oh, this guy is doing this, you know, and or it goes back to your credit card company in terms of your health and benefits. So that's about 3 key things about employee engagement, well-being, and performance management, where I have personally used some of these things, except in well-being, which is just a concept I've told you, but in employee engagement and performance management, we have been using these things and we find it pretty effective. Now, sorry about this picture, but I have to tell you that with the cost of chips coming down, okay, you will have, let's take for example a smart bathroom, okay, where your walls and your floor are smart, okay. So the hair that falls down, you know, when you comb it, you know, it is analyzed by a smart bathroom out there, and it tells you your health, okay. And if you look at the right, it monitors your health, it detects proteins, okay. It can even detect cancer colonies and various such things, right. So what happens now, as against if you are dispositioned to a particular disease, you will know much beforehand what you need to do, okay. And this is just one of those examples, and again privacy questions could be asked around here, but look at it. Cancer could even go away if we are able to deploy technology as effectively, as ubiquitous as we are trying to make it out to be, okay. And while I'm talking about that subject, I also have to tell you, my heart goes out to those people, because we are the only country in the world which has the lowest number of oncologists to cancer patients.